All right, so we're continuing on with the Why You're Not Losing the Weight series. And I talked about this on Tuesday, and I'll make sure to link up that video so you can, catch up with what we're talking about. So the first part was like, it has to be part of your mission, it has to be part of your values for losing weight. And, for many people, I want to say that everything I talk about this over the next few videos, it is not about you must do it right now, okay? It is like looking at, I want you to think about it as a circle. And as we actually think about it as a puzzle. Some days, you can find that corner piece and you start the puzzle and you put the corner pieces together, and then you're like looking for those like random odd shaped pieces to put inside. That's what this is. Like, over the 5 things that I'm going to share with you, I want you to think about it as a puzzle. And some days you can easily put that puzzle together, and some days you're like, I'm looking all over, missing a piece. And where, a lot of women struggle is that we try to put it all together, right? We want to bake the cake in one fell swoop, where sometimes we might need to go to the store and get a couple of ingredients, right? And I really think about it in that capacity, that it's a process. It's a step-by-step process, and over time you will get to where you want to go. It might not be as quick as you want, but what I always say is that if you go slower, you have a better shot of keeping your goal, because you're learning your lessons as you work through the process. You're earning your reps. Think about I always like when clients come in, they want to do all the things like right now. I always liken it to when we went to school. When you went to kindergarten, did you say to the teacher, "Mrs. Jones, I know everyone here is coloring, but I think I'm a little bit more advanced. I'm ready to do trigonometry right now"? No, you sat down and you colored with the rest of the 5-year-olds. So let's think about dieting, nutrition in that capacity. Let's start doing some coloring before we try to skip on to advanced trig. So today it's all about your identity. And, I'm big on definition so that we all get on the same page. That when I'm talking about it, you're not like, what does she mean? You know exactly what I'm talking about. So when I say identity, it's who you are. It's what tribe you belong to. It's, sometimes it's who we're programmed to be, things our parents told us to be, things, to be a good employee, to be a good social citizen. But the other thing is that we have an identity when it comes to weight loss. The diet industry has programmed us into thinking that weight loss is hard and you have to struggle, and you only can eat this and you can't eat that, and you must, your diet must have a name. And I've fallen victim to that at all. This is not me making fun of you. This is me just being like, you know what? I have been the chucklehead too. I've been the, I've fallen for everything the diet industry has said, hook, line, and sinker. So let me just take a big step back, right? Identity, that's huge. There's so many layers that go into identity. So the best way I could really describe identity is sports teams. Now, I know some of you are like, I'm not a sports fan, but sports fans. Those fans. Those fans that as soon as the game comes on, they got to be there sitting down watching it. My husband is a diehard Boston's sports fan. Patriots games. There's no talking to him on Sunday when the Patriots are on. I literally have to get everything out of my mouth before 1 o'clock kickoff, or wait until the final score. And so that's his identity, right? That's his tribe. And I live here in Boston, and we, most of Boston are Red Sox fans, and so no matter who the Red Sox are playing, at some point during the game, someone will yell "Yankees suck," and then the whole stadium will start chanting "Yankees suck." And it gets me thinking that Yankees are our biggest rival, and our biggest rival is us. We are our biggest rival. You are your biggest rival. So are you in your mind when you're going for this weight loss goal? In your mind, are you saying, I suck, my thighs are fat, my butt is this, my stomach is this? Like, are you chanting all these negative things, making that your identity, that like, I am someone that has a fat ass. I'm someone who has belly fat. I'm someone who, and you're just, cheering for the interception, as I like to call it. And if you're not someone who identifies as someone who can lose the weight, someone who is a, healthy person, a fit person, it's going to be of a bit of a struggle, because I'm telling myself it's going to be a struggle. And so I have to kind of flip the script. That's the word that are supposedly coming out of my mouth. I have to flip the script. And so you need to start believing differently. You need to start identifying in a different way. Identifying as someone who wants to lose the weight, someone who can lose the weight, someone who can lose the weight easily. And we need to step more into the ease of it versus always looking for the hard, looking for the struggle, looking for the list that we have to follow. And if I don't follow that list, then I might as well, not even do it, because it's not going to work if I'm not following the list. So instead of thinking about what that outcome is, start to think about who I want to become when I achieve this goal. Because if I already embody it, like I talk about the sports fan, if I embody being a Red Sox fan, no matter what the Red Sox do, I think they're the bee's knees, right? If I am a, diehard 49ers fan, same thing, right? And I say that because Boston is such a sports town, and everyone's always like, the Monday morning quarterback, and always been like, they should have done this and they should have done that. It's their identity. It's like who we are. Like, they feel ownership of the team. They have no ownership other than a freaking jersey. The head coach or the manager isn't going to call them up and be like, hey, who do you think I should start playing today? No, they're like, but that's who they identify as. And that's where you have to start thinking about, like, do I identify as someone who is a healthy and fit person? Do I identify as someone who can achieve my goals? Because when I do that, that's where I'm going to start to ignite the switch. That's where I'm going to really start to crush my goals. When I start to think about, this is who I am as a person. So how do you make the shift? Decide that I'm going to be a person who works out. Decide I'm going to be a person who eats healthy. Decide that I'm going to be a person who gets my butt to bed on time. Make the decision. Put the stick in the ground and, work with it. So think about it like this, all right? So here are some examples. You're like, Kim, you're saying a lot of things. That's great. But here, I'm going to give you some concrete examples. So say I want to be someone who exercises. I want to identify as someone who is an exerciser. Great. And I'm not currently doing it. But all right, so instead of saying, I'm going to the gym every week, I'm going to crush my goals, and it's going to be amazing. What if I just took 50 steps back? And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'm going to walk on the treadmill. Or if the gym intimidates you, say, I'm going to do on YouTube, find a 15-minute workout, and I'm going to work out for 15 minutes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m., right? I become a person who works out. It's 3 days a week, 15 minutes. There it is. I'm becoming a person who works out. Now, and then as you do these small things, you get some reps under your belt, and you start to be like, look at me. I'm someone who works out, right? Maybe you get a little muscle going. And then eventually, you're like, okay, I feel more comfortable. I feel more confident that I can now bump it up. Maybe I'm doing 30 minutes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe I'm doing 30 minutes on Monday, but still sticking with the Wednesday, Thursday at 15 minutes. Maybe I find a class that I like, and I go and take that class, right? And you're picking up what I'm putting down? Now, say I want to be someone who eats better, right? I'm someone who eats healthy. So then, what does someone who eats healthy do? Okay, so maybe it starts with something simple. I'm going to have 1 cup of vegetables every day. Maybe you eat more vegetables. That's great. But you're going to make it your life's mission that, once a day, you're going to have one full cup of vegetables. And it doesn't have to be, you decide, what that when that cup of vegetables happen. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at me. I'm making honoring commitments to myself. I told myself I was gonna have vegetables. I'm having vegetables, right? So think about it in your way of like, who is the person that I want to become? What's the identity that I want to start assuming? And then what are some of the steps I can take to start assuming that identity? So I have a little bit of homework for you if you're willing. Okay, here's the homework. So first, what's the goal that you want to achieve, right? Is it losing weight? I mean, this works for pretty much anything. Do I want to lose weight? Do I want to start working out regularly? Do I want to start getting to bed on time? Do I want to start a business? Like, what is it that I want? Then I say, okay, what is that sentence that describes who I am, right? So if I say I want to lose weight, so I'm like, okay, my goal is I want to lose weight. And then my sentence is, I am a person who easily loses weight. I'm a weight loss champion, right? That's my one sentence that just describes the type of person that I want to become. Then I say to myself, okay, so if I'm this person, I'm this weight loss person, what are 5 little things? 3 to 5. I'm going to give you 3 to 5. 3 to 5 little things that I can do. So if I want to lose weight, I can say, I'm a person who eats 1 cup of vegetables. I'm a person who goes to the gym 15 minutes a day, or works out 15 minutes a day on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm a person who walks 10,000 miles. I'm a person who sleeps 7 hours a week, 7 hours a week, 7 hours a day. So I'm gonna just pick one of everything. Out of the 3 to 5 things I wrote, I'm gonna say what feels easy for me right now, and I would love for them to be things that you currently aren't doing. So pick 3 to 5 things. Pick 3 to 5 things, and then pick one that feels easy, and then just work on that. Just work on that one thing until that one thing you're like, hey, I started doing it without thinking about it, and then I can move on to the next thing. Because what typically happens is many of you want to say, okay, I wrote these 5 things, and I have to do all these 5 things, and then life gets busy, and then you're like, oh, see, I failed again, blah. But if I'm focusing on is making sure I hit that one thing, you'll find it easier to squeeze that one thing into your life every day versus trying to make room for like the 500 things you told yourself you have to do in order to lose the weight, right? Make sense? So here's where we're at that decision tree, right? Like the fork in the road. You can continue down the path that you're on, right? Telling yourself, calling out Yankee suck no matter who you're playing. You keep calling out your belly fat. You keep calling out, a failure, loser that you are. Or you can shift the identity to become the person who becomes the person who is that weight loss person, who is that person who is fit, who is that person who is healthy. And I can start by taking one small step, one simple step every single day until I get a result. Now, here's where I challenge you. It's going to be small. The steps going to be small, and the results might be a little slower. But this is what I can guarantee you: the results are going to last, right? Because now it's become who you are. It's no longer an opportunity to blow it off. I work out all the time, and everyone's like, Kim, how do you just work out? Because it's my identity. It's my identity. Like if I don't work out or move my body in some capacity, I'm like, something's missing, so like, it's like, I crave going for a walk. I crave, just moving my body in some way, shape, or form. So I challenge you to like get to that point where you just like crave that level of, health that you want to be. Because trust me, everyone can be healthy. You can do it. You have it within you. So I would love for you to leave me a comment below. Who is the person that you are becoming? Because these are the types of things that we're going to start talking about, the loops we're going to start to open in my 10 days to reboot and refocus. And in that reboot and refocus, it's how do we totally reboot this, right? Reboot our mind so that we can finally like break all the chains that are keeping us stuck and finally get to where it is that we want to be in our lives when it comes to our health and our fitness. All right. Stay fabulous. I'll be back in a couple of days talking about the third thing, and we're talking about habits. All right, stay fabulous.